This war, we're not winning it. If you speak a word of what I'm about to show you, you will be executed for high treason.
Who are you?
Alan Turing, one of the best mathematicians in the world.
Welcome to Enigma.
It's the greatest encryption device in history. The Germans use it for all major communications. 159 million possible settings.
It's unbreakable.
Let me try, and we'll know for sure.
Well, Benedict, congrats on the movie, first of all.
Thank you so
Absolutely
much.
loved it. I mean,
Thank
he's
you.
such an interesting, complex, layered character. I assume that was one of the reasons why you wanted to play him, because it's a challenge to take on him.
Yeah. I mean, it is definitely a challenge, and I think I didn't want him to be easily categorizable. But also, you know, the other challenge is obviously the fact that there is no footage or recording of him, and yet he did have a very particular way of speaking and moving and being, which was recounted verbally. And I talked to a few members of his surviving family, his nieces. But that was more. They were very young when they met him, so that was more about what it was like being around him, how they made him feel, how he made them feel, more importantly. And as children, they said they felt so relaxed and comfortable around him. They do remember his stammer, but they never felt it was socially awkward.
Okay.
And just things like that were supremely helpful to build the sort of humanity behind someone we know as a brilliant scientist, as a cryptographer extraordinaire, as one of the incredible brains that helped crack the Enigma code and bring about an early end to the war, saving millions of lives. And someone who was persecuted for his sexuality in the 50s through not denying his sexuality. And I think, you know, all of those elements I've just mentioned, people know bits of it, but I was surprised how little I knew of the whole story, and even of what we cover in the limited time we have in a film, and let alone the further research, Andrew Hodges' brilliant biography and other books that I read, and like I said, people I met. So it was about that jigsaw piecing and then trying to put something together that was right for every moment of the film. And Morton's an extraordinary director, Graham's a great writer, and a wonderful cast, some of whom I've known who are dear friends, others who I feel like were great friends, like Alan Leech I'd never met before, but felt like we'd known each other for years.
Really? You never met him?
We got on really, really well.
We love Alan, obviously, in Ireland.
But yeah, of course. Well, he's a supreme Irishman. I love him to bits. And Matthew Good I've known for a long time, and Kira I've worked with before and love as well. So yeah, it was just a joy.
Yeah,
and Beardy as well. He was another one like Leech. He was just like, it was very instant bond. So with all of that together, it's you feel very supported.
To Turing, do you know how many have died because of Enigma? 3. While we've been having this conversation.
Churchill's put Alan in charge.
Keith and Charles are both fired.
Popular at school, were you?
We're short on staff.
We get more staff.
You're great in the film. I love this film, actually. And I didn't know too much about the story of Alan Turing's life. I think a lot of people are finding that. What about yourselves? Did you know much about him before you got the script or signed on to this?
I knew a little bit from history in school. I remember being about 14 and it was the first time I heard the phrase chemical castration. So one of the first things I learnt about him was the tragic way he was treated and what occurred to him later in his life. That's what I knew before I came to the script.
I knew sort of words, enigma, code cracking, war, Alan Turing. That's about it. And I sort of, through this film, it strings them all together and fills in all the gaps.
And what I liked about this as well is the story, as you say, I didn't know lots of parts of this story, but there was a bit of humour in it too, the way he takes everyone so literally.
Well, I've been doing press in Toronto, and I went to see the film in the evening, and I was looking around going, oh, Christ, I really had forgotten. It's very funny. It is very funny. And intentionally, people were laughing at the right moments, I think, but I'd forgotten it because, this is a celebration of this man, and he was funny on purpose, and I think funny by accident in similar measures at times, but especially in our story. But, it's important to remember that huge tragedy as it was, the end of his life, that what we should be doing with his legacy is celebrating him. And also remembering that this was a time of intolerance, but the only person that could really have anything to say of any importance is the man who suffered the most, who's no longer with us. So, while I think it's very, very clear in the film that it's a tragedy and something that shouldn't have happened and that was appalling, I guess I was surprised and happy to realise that there's there's a great level of entertainment in this film as well, as an important message.
Absolutely. So for you guys, was it hard to do research on this? Because there's not that much. I know there's no footage of actual Alan Turing. I assume your characters are based on real people. So what did you do to find out a bit more about them?
As you say, very little is known about what occurred in Bletchley Park, especially. You know, either the documents have been destroyed or it's still classified. So a lot of that kind of came from Graham Moore, the scriptwriter. You know, we kind of had to trust him there. In relation to our own characters, I played John Cairncross, who was a real man, and he wrote a biography. So you get certain kind of snippets of his life, which was a great help. And I think the same for
Peter Hilton appears in many of the Bletchley Park books and in Alan Turing biographies as well. So together, when you amass them all through flicking through many an index, you know, you can piece together certain anecdotes and character traits which were...
Okay.
Yeah.
And I read that you guys all got together about 2 weeks before the film. There was a 2 weeks kind of rehearsal, kind of boot camp type. What was that like? And was it nice? Did everybody click straight away? Did the chemistry flow easily?
I think what's really important about the roles that we play within the movie is we're at the point of the movie that's really about the ensemble and a core group. And they were a group who really trusted each other. They really were brothers. And, you know, with Keir, they became, you know, a family in trying to break what was known as the Unbreakable Code. And those 2 weeks gave us an opportunity to really gel and you know, kind of connect.
Yeah.
And you both worked with loads of great actors. What was it like to see Benedict because Benedict is the toast of Hollywood at this point. What was it like to see him kind of become a character before your eyes, or was it like that?
It was, I mean, within those 2 weeks, we had the opportunity of not only just Benedict, but seeing everyone's process of how they got into their characters. And that was really, it was a privilege to be in a room and acting opposite these guys day in, day out. It was really, really something special.
Does it make it a bit more pressure when you're doing something that's based on reality, that's based on a true story, based on real people? Is there kind of a responsibility maybe associated with that when you're doing it?
Well, there is a responsibility to their legacy and, you know, to their relatives and everything else. But you do have to sort of put that to one side, and for the sake of, you know, telling a story in a 2-hour time frame, there's a lot to fit in there. So. So you have to be quite zen about the whole thing on set and kind of let certain things go. You know, the tiniest little detail that you've researched might not be there, and, you know, not throw a hissy fit and just realise that the scene, it's not that necessary to the scene. So you just have to kind of use some common sense about it, really. But the guilt at the end of the day on the way home does follow you home. Does follow you home.
And for you, Alan, obviously everybody knows you from Downton Abbey most of all. Is it nice to do something, a character that is so different? Because your character is actually quite complex.
Yeah, it really was. You know, it's lovely to be able to move away from Downton and to do different projects. And I feel very privileged that this is the project that came in the window when we weren't filming.
Yeah.
And as you say, such a different character from anything I played before, and a very complex man. So when people watch the movie, I'm sure that they'll be slightly shocked.
Are you still loving Downton? And do you still get attacked on the street, I imagine? Not attacked, but like fans coming up to you.
It tends to be cyclical. So when the show's on, people tend to be more aware of you when you're sitting on the tube than normal. But apart from that, you know, everyone, I have to say, who comes up tends to love the show. So everyone's been very kind. So less attacking, just, you know, nice comments.
So what do you hope both of you people take away from this movie after seeing it? Because I think everybody's going to take something away from this movie.
I hope that they learn a little bit of a man who is fairly an unsung hero in British history, and I hope they take away from the fact that this movie really is a celebration of being different and a tribute to a great man.
Yeah, I think if next time they check their smartphone or their computer, if they think a little bit about what's behind this invention and this history, then I think that's great.
12 Years a Slave last year won the Best Picture Oscar. I know it's an annoying question, but there is huge Oscar buzz already around this. Would you like one on the shelf for yourself?
You know, why I'm thrilled about the buzz is because it means that people will be interested in seeing the film, and it means his story will be sped out through our version of it to a broader audience, and that's great for his legacy. And as long as people realize that this is a film and a beginning of an understanding of someone, then again, that's terrific. So any buzz that brings people to see the film, you know, this is a small independent film. Harvey saw a teaser for it and picked it up and is now running with it because he was so thrilled with what he saw before the finished cut. It's a huge amount of faith put in a very, for what it is, a very low budget film. So all this hype around it, I just want it to play out. I want people to come and see the film. That's what I'm concerned with.
Well, they should go see it. It's absolutely brilliant. And thanks a
Thank
million,
you very
Benedict.
much.
It's a pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
You have 6 minutes to complete the task.
Is that even possible?
Takes me 8. 5 minutes and 34 seconds.
You said to do it in under 6. What is it that we're really doing?
We're going to break an unbreakable Nazi code and win the war.
Oh,
To pull off this genius routine, one actually has to be a genius.
it doesn't matter how smart you are. Enigma is always smarter.
What if only a machine can defeat another machine?
Have you decrypted a single German message?
My machine will work.
Sooner or later, you will make a mistake.
What if I don't fancy Joan in that way?
It's illegal. They're looking for any excuse to put you away.
You've got more secrets than the best.
Am I a criminal? Am I a war hero?
You don't get to decide who lives and who dies.
No one else can.
You will never understand the importance of what I am creating here.
My God.
Yes!
Sometimes it is the people who no one imagines anything of who do the things that no one